Hi everyone and welcome back. In today's video I'm going to be working on 3 Halloween themed greetings cards. There's a full list of the materials I used in the video description box below, and some of the main ones are clip art and papers from my latest printable graphics collection. This is a Halloween themed set of pattern papers, digital stamps, cards, banners, clip art and more, all designed to be used in scrapbooking, card making, art journaling and lots of creative projects. They are printable graphics, so you can print them out at home or at a print shop. You can print them out onto whatever paper you want, as many times as you need, and you can also size or rotate elements to suit whatever you're working on. All the graphics come in PDF and JPEG file formats, so you have plenty of flexibility when working. I'm going to be using papers from the Pattern Papers set, objects from the printable clip art set, and also the sentiments and banners set. There are links to all of these and to my shop in the description box below if you are interested. You can of course use whatever papers and elements you already have at home. I'm also going to be using today card bases, or wooden elements, glue, tape, buttons and liquid pearls. I've started by cutting up the page of elements so that I can have them all ready to use and look through as I'm working and making each card. I like to cut the whole page roughly up first and then go in and neatly cut round each element, leaving a little white border. Next, I'm cutting up the papers. In the PDF version of this set, the patterns come in several different sizes: a quarter page, a half page and a full page, for both A4 and letter paper sizes. I've printed out the patterns with the quarter page size, so all 4 patterns arranged on one page. After all the papers were trimmed, I'm going through and matching up patterns for each card. I ended up choosing a couple of different layouts and paper strips. For the first card, I started by attaching a square of brown cardstock to my card base. It's a 6x6 inch card base here, and I'm using double-sided tape. The brown layer of cardstock will help the pattern strips to stand out from the base. After the brown cardstock was on the card, I added the paper strips, layering them up with the pattern I wanted to be the most prominent as the largest strip on the topmost layer. I like to arrange the layers so that none of them are the same size in width. I find that I like the look of that better. Then I went through my box of cutouts and picked out a sentiment banner and a little banner. Using 3D foam squares to raise them up a little, I attached them to the card. Next, I added 3 wooden buttons as embellishments with some liquid glue. The buttons were quite large, but I thought that they gave the card an extra homemade feel. I wanted the background pattern, particularly the pumpkins, to be the main focus of this card, so there was no need to add any other elements, and I made sure to add the buttons and the sentiment to the left-hand side of the card so they weren't covering up the pumpkins too much. For card number 2, I started with layering up my 2 papers with the double-sided tape, starting with the spots as the matting layer and then the little spiders as the main background pattern. The spots are almost completely covered up, but that extra strip really adds to help more dimension to the card and also helps to frame the background panel and bring it forward a little. The white background on the spiders pattern would have completely blended in with the white card base, so I wanted to add a little extra layer of pattern in between the two. I'm also using an A6 card base here. I finished off with a vertical strip of the orange paper. This will really help the foreground elements I'm going to add in a moment to stand out from the background layer. Again, having a look through the tray of pre-cut elements, I picked out a few to use in a cluster and a banner to go on the card. I like to pick out a variety of different sizes for a cluster, and I chose the pumpkin as the main or focused element, and I will be clustering all the other smaller objects behind it. I attached and layered up the cluster using 3D foam squares, and I also added a sentiment banner as well. I like to move things around and try different elements until I have a cluster I like, and having a tray of pre-cut elements is really handy here. For the last card, I'm beginning with a light cream coloured cardstock matting layer, and then the purple stripes pattern, and then lastly the triangular cut paper with the candy design. The candy pattern is one of my favourites from this collection. Once the papers were all attached, I added a banner and then cut another little banner from some leftover white paper just to add a little extra interest and another layer on the card. For the focal point of this card, I have a bottle full of candy corn, and I attached that again with the 3D foam squares. I find that they are really useful for helping to lift elements off the background layer, as by raising the elements you create a little drop shadow underneath them. I felt the card was a little plain, so I pulled out my wooden elements and I picked a few leaves and stars to add to the card, tucking the leaves behind the bottle. I also added in a couple of buttons as well. The last step for all the cards was to add a few drops of the liquid pearls. Just a couple here and there on the cards. I mostly added them into the element clusters, and I used both orange and white as they were colours that complemented the colours that were already in the cards. I have plenty of elements left over, so I will be doing a couple more projects with these graphics, and they will be coming up soon on the channel. If there's something in particular you'd like to see me make with these elements, an art journal page, more card making, a mixed media canvas perhaps, leave a comment down below and let me know. These are my 3 finished Halloween cards, fun to make and made mostly using papers and elements that can be printed out at home. I really hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Thanks for watching and have a creative day.